Hey everyone, my name is Chris.
And my name is Cam.
Sweet, that's interesting. I didn't know that before actually about you, Cam.
Thanks.
You were 11, 12 episodes into our show, and I just
Thank
learned
you.
what your name is.
I appreciate that. That's why I don't know if you know that, but now probably CNC Board Game Factory makes more sense.
Oh, it's all coming together. All right, so yeah, this is the CNC Board Game Factory. This is episode, what do we say this was, 10 or 11 or
This is
12?
like episode 12 or 13, actually.
There's a reason that most podcasts just stop numbering after a while. They're like,
Yeah.
welcome to this episode.
That's why Board Boy does seasons. It's just like, hey, we don't have to like go, hey, episode 157, and be like, yeah, this is season 7, episode 4, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's really easy when you get back down. You keep that under like 15.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we should have done that. Anyway, so welcome back to CNC Board Game Factory. This is kind of the close, I guess, of a chapter. This is like
Yeah, so we'll go into CNC Board Game Factory Part 2, Episode 1 on the next.
this is the Marvel Avengers of CNC Board Game Factory, if you know what I mean.
I don't, because I'm not really that kind of nerd. Um, Video games, music, board games, and then like there's a clear line, and then there's like a gray area where like I know a little bit about what you're talking about, and then there's like another line where it's like a just like a forest of obscurity, and comics are in that, and comic related stuff are in that zone for me.
You're not really that familiar with like the comic book movies.
I mean, like I'll watch one or two of them if somebody's like, "Hey, let's go see this" or whatever. And it's not that I dislike them because I don't. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that I don't know if I willfully just like said, "Okay, I'm gonna. These are the hobbies I enjoy, and like this is what I care about." I think part of it is like I'm a pretty like I want to make people happy, and I want to be like a friendly, like likable person, and I want to be kind and polite to people. A lot of times, this is my sin, okay? A lot of times I can be a little snotty about stuff that's extremely popular, especially when people like make their personality about things that are extremely popular. Like when somebody goes like, "Oh, I'm a Hufflepuff" or whatever.
Right.
Uh,
You're
well,
not a
movie
Hufflepuff. You're
so
a grown
huge.
person.
Yeah, well, and that's fine, right? But the Avengers movies are so huge and so ubiquitous, and people love them so much and quote them and want to be like those characters and want to think about that stuff that I just go, you know what? Like, it's better for me to not see this than to see it and not like it.
I
You know what I mean?
kind of
And
felt
since it doesn't hold a lot of interest for me, there's like a pretty good chance that I would have like a snarky comment to say. You know what I mean? But I have seen. I think I saw the first couple Avengers, and I did like them. But they didn't go. They didn't make me go. Yes, I can't wait to see the new Avengers movie.
they'll punch something bigger.
I would like to. I've always wanted to, and here's the thing, and this is very topical. I always kind of wanted to watch Black Panther,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't seen it because I like that actor. But now, if I watch it, it's like I'm watching it just because he just passed away. You know what I mean?
So okay, I'm part of this YouTube chat series with. So Tim Matevier is the owner of our local board game cafe. He's also the guy that puts together Dice Tower West. He's an awesome
Is
guy.
it Tevier, like Fiddler on the Roof?
Yeah, Matevier.
Isn't that the name of the? Isn't that the guy's name, Tevier, the Fiddler on the Roof?
Yeah, yes, he has it. So Tim has a meh in the front of it,
Yep.
Matevier. But yes, yeah, Ma Fiddler on the Roof guy. So
Right.
Tim is awesome. He's super cool, and he's put together this panel of people that is kind of like a rotating panel. He has people in and out, and we just talk about board games. We talk about board game related stuff. It was so funny, man. We were just recorded that yesterday, and there was a panel. There was Victoria Kanya, who works for what was it? She works for Wizards of the Coast, and she just kickstarted her game Gladius earlier this year.
Gladius. That's a strong name. I like that.
There's Marcus Ross, who makes who's he's the guy from Water Bear Games, who made like bees and I'm drawing a blank on that. It's something Go, not Sushi Go, but it's like Salmon Go or this is something I'm drawing a blank, but Water Bear Games is like he's published 3 games. There
Water bear
was
or water bear?
Water Bear. So there are like a couple of very successful people on this stream, and Tim is looking at me and he's like, "Oh, and Chris is here too. Chris, you just you make games," and I was like, "I yes." I'm on the screen right next to Emerson Matsuchi, like designer of the Century Spice Road series of games. I'm like, yeah,
Right.
I make games, sure. So yeah, it was in terms of being surrounded by coolness and embarrassment of riches, in terms of having something to like feel like I was contributing to the discussion and embarrassment. But I take it all in good stride. So anyway, Tim was talking about how he has not watched Black Panther. We were talking about the death of Chadwick Boseman, which is topical and extremely sad. And I'm not one to get heartbroken over like celebrity people passing away because, what I mean, that's what happens. You live, you die. But like, it's already a crappy year.
Yeah.
And
And this guy seems like a good person, and I think so many people that are famous do not seem like good people.
yeah,
So
and I know what that character means for so many other people. Like there's posts going around social media of like little kids, like little nerd kids who have their action figures and stuff, who are holding funeral services for their like Black Panther action figure. And I'm like, well,
oh,
that makes me actually cry. Like that's terribly sad. You know what I mean? That's how these kids are like mourning with that. And so he means so much for other people that I like. It's not just like, oh, some singer like ate it. Some singer kicked the bucket. Like, oh, that's too bad. They were a great singer. Like, this is already a
here's a
rough year.
do you think okay, because I'm trying to put myself in the little kid shoes,
Hmm.
and when I was 10 in 1994, 95,
Hmm.
and okay, so I wasn't like, I would say that my Marvel would have been like the action hero that I would have liked then would have been like Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
right? Which, because the last movie came out in like 89 or 90, um, but like without the technology ramp that we have going on right now, like stuff still stayed relevant for like a decent amount of time. And I think if my parents told me like, "Hey Cam, Harrison Ford died," I'd be like, "Who's Harrison Ford?" It'd be like the guy who played Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I would be like, "Bummer." But I at 10 would not have equated Harrison Ford to having to be Indiana Jones. Like if the next year somebody said we're going to put out Indiana Jones 4 starring Michael Richards or whoever, uh, I would have been like, cool, new Indiana Jones movie. I wouldn't have been like, okay, let's have a funeral for Indiana Jones. Only he can be Indiana Jones. And I think that was like, I think it was a time when like there were different James Bonds, there were different Batmans, there were different, this and that. If you watched a cartoon show and then that canceled, but they brought out like a new spin-off, it could have been done with a completely different art style.
Yeah.
And in my brain, the person wasn't the character. But in this day and age, I think parents are like really, really like sensitive. And like this obviously is the Black Panther represented like a social issue and like nerddom that like is being like magnified by the events of 2020. And like, do you think that these kids are like, hey, I should have a funeral for Black Panther? Or if like the parents are impressing upon the kids the importance of this particular actor? Because like, if I heard that my favorite superhero actor died, I might be like, oh, that's too bad. But I
Hmm.
wouldn't have been like, the Black Panther died. I would be like, the Black Panther is the Black Panther.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those. It is a curiosity because I mean, I think some of the kids are younger than 10. Right. I think a 10-year-old kind
Right.
of grasps like actors are different than roles. Like 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds with action figures are like, oh no, you know what I mean? And some of these kids, yeah, we've lived through like 17 different Spider-Men and Batman.
That would be a blip for me at 6 too, if I'm remembering my 6. Like I was an Indiana Jones fan as a 6-year-old too, and if somebody had been like, "Hey, Indiana Jones died," I'd be like, "Indiana Jones is a character." But like if they'd been like, "No, Harrison Ford died," I'd be like, "Okay."
Oh, I got a question for you about that actually.
And maybe that's just me. I don't know. I mean, I was sensitive to some things, but I don't think I was sensitive to like that kind of stuff.
actors and celebrities and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I have a question for you. Were you raised with Santa Claus? Like, did you believe in Santa
No, not
Claus?
at all. No. My parents like from day one. It was like, hey, listen, you don't have to be a buzzkill about Santa Claus because like some of your friends probably believe in Santa Claus, and like, but we just want you to know that like Santa Claus is not a real guy. The presents come from us and your family members and friends and stuff like that. And it's not that we want to like take the mystery and the wonder out of it or give ourselves the credit. We just don't want you to ever have to like realize that we've been like not telling you the truth about this whole time.
Yes. So
So for my kid, I was like, oh, okay, perfect. Tooth Fairy not real, Easter Bunny not real, and I think too, like with my parents being like my dad being like a preacher, you know, I think it was like, hey, we don't want you to believe in stuff. I don't know. I think maybe there's like a kind of a fine line with kids where it's like, okay, we want our kid to believe in God, but like if we tell them that all this other stuff exists too, and then we're like, no, that's actually just fake. Like, what's he gonna think about this stuff we've been telling him about other stuff he can't see? You know what I mean?
for sure,
So
yeah. Like, oh yeah, yeah. You know, we only lied to you about 60% of the stuff when you were a kid.
right, right. And it wasn't that like I don't think they like wanted to equate like there's no like spiritualism like we think this is wrong. You know, my parents would still give me gifts from Santa Claus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're like, but it was like a wink and a nudge. It's like no, there's no Santa Claus.
That's
You know?
that's how my wife's family was, and that's I was raised just without really mention of Santa Claus. Santa was a character that
Right.
was in Christmas movies and stuff. You know what I mean? Like he's the embodiment of Christmas for like a television cartoon show or something. And so I wonder if that puts us in slightly of a different mindset
Yeah.
with that type of stuff because there's people who in earnest for decade or not decade, hopefully not decades, for years of their life, you know, believed in that type of at a very impressionable age. So like for
Yeah.
a 5-year-old or 6-year-old who still believes in Santa. By the way, sorry if you're watching this with your 4-year-old and they're heartbroken right now, but
Yeah.
you know, watch shows responsibly, parents.
But I don't think any of my friends believed in Santa Claus either that I know of because I'm sure the conversation would have come up.
That's
You know?
interesting. Okay. Anyway,
But like again, we're Iowa, and like Iowa culture is like very understated, very like realist, you know, uh, and like very like very Midwestern, right? So like I think it would stand to reason that like a lot of people, you know, especially like my parents were born in the 1950s. Their parents were born in the 20s and 30s. Like my parents were raised by people who had been through the Great Depression. Oftentimes, like in Iowa, like oftentimes on like a farm where like the money's still not really there when they're kids, and like it's like kind of cool if you like go to McDonald's and eat a hamburger.
yeah.
You know, it's kind of cool like if you have a Coca-Cola. You know, on Friday. Not that like my parents are like my friends' parents were like destitute. It's just like a different, you know,
It's a mindset they grew up in. Yeah.
like different stuff was expensive. Like I get the impression that like buying a car and like getting a house were like affordable, but buying like a color TV was like pricey. Where now you can afford the TV, but the house, wow, you know.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, that's a good point. It's the different things that are expensive, and sometimes there's a generational misunderstanding on that.
yeah. So my parents are going to be like, hey, Cam's dad, young Cam's dad. All this stuff we just got you for Christmas, that's from Santa Claus. No, I bet you they were taking the credit for that. So anyway,
So yeah. So anyway, I wonder if there's a correlation between young age Santa Claus belief or non-belief, and then like uh, extrapolating that kind of on characters and TV shows and movies and stuff like that. You know.
sure.
So but anyway, it's all based on absolutely nothing but just this conversation that we've been having. So the point of all of that was Tim, who was running this video chat thing yesterday. He had said that he had never seen Black Panther, and everyone in the video chat was like, "Go watch it, Tim!" Like, you know,
Yeah,
Tim is very supportive. He's a black person. He's a black business owner in Las Vegas. He likes seeing a lot of like the Black Lives Matter stuff being brought forward and everything. And everyone's like, "And Tim, you haven't seen Black Panther? Like, go watch it, man. He's like, I'm not really into nerd stuff. So
Well, and here's the thing: like my friend, a friend of mine, um, who I was pretty good buddies with in like college. JCC is a musician. I'm a musician.
hmm
He writes blog somewhere or whatever, and posted a link to it. I'm not going to get it right if I try to tell you what, but it's a fairly major. I don't think it's not his job. It's probably one of those things where like I'm not very internet savvy, especially for like editorial works. But I recognize the website, but I don't think he gets paid to write. I think he just writes and it's hosted there.
He's like a WordPress or something like that.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's similar, probably. Anyway, he wrote something when Chadwick Boseman passed away about like being a kid and like going to buy a comic book, and he's a black guy, and going to buy a comic book and being like, "Whoa, there's a black superhero called Black Panther," and he's like, "If I read a comic book about a black superhero named Black Panther, and like my white friends see this, like, how on the nose is that?" Like, and so he said he just avoided it like forever until this movie came out, and he was like it didn't really make like he didn't understand like the impact that maybe like this movie had on a lot of people, because like seeing the black superhero just being named Black Panther growing up, it was like, give me a black superhero named like Electro Man or something. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, why does my black superhero have to have the name Black right in his name? You know what I mean?
That's an interesting societal like backward societal pressure where he's like, I don't want to delve into that because my white friends see it and they're like, oh yeah, sure, typical or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
But this movie made it cool, man.
Yeah. But of course it ended up meaning a lot to him, like this movie and this actor, and like seeing like, I mean, I think it helps that like, and I haven't seen the movie, but apparently the movie was really good with really good actors in it,
Yeah.
So anyway,
So
welcome to the Board Game Factory. That was things that make you go,
So I think this all started because I said that today's episode is the Marvel Avengers of the show. In that, and I'll explain now that we've gone on that complete tangent, worthwhile tangent. But so
Right.
we've done all of our pitches, right? That's like phase one of the Marvel the Marvel movies. We're like, here's
Right.
Captain America, here's Thor, here's Iron Man, and then in
Elron covered.
Elron cast it into the fire. I was going to be super productive yesterday, and instead I found a Twitter thread of nothing but Lord of the Rings memes, and I spent like an hour scrolling through that, and it was so good. So anyway, so in the Avengers, it was the kind of the culmination. They brought all of the different characters from the first phase of introductions into a big battle royale, basically. And then it kind of kicked off what they called phase two, where it grew and developed from there. So Cam and I have pitched games for the last many episodes.
Right.
We've come up with ideas, we've refined them, we've talked them through. And now this is kind of that culmination point that's going to lead into part two of the C&C Board Game Factory.
Yeah.
Did that analogy work for you?
And that's where we start making a game. Yeah.
Yeah.
For those who are not keen on the analogy, I like the analogy, but I mean, for those of you who haven't seen all the Avengers like me, like this was the second chapter.
Yeah, chapter 2. All right.
It's like, here's an analogy for those who don't get that analogy. It's like when the first chapter of a book ends, then you go into the second chapter. It's like there's a stopping point that makes sense, and then there's a new idea, but then it builds on the first one.
Sometimes that information you gleaned from the first chapter is requisite for understanding the second, one might say.
Yeah. Before we go into the second thing, I have an advertisement I want to do. I was telling Chris right before this that my fry game has been really boosted this week, and it's because I bought this ketchup. It's called 78 spicy ketchup.
What? Okay.
And I thought it was going to be a Heinz product, and I'm like, okay, this is Heinz's like organic ketchup. It's not.
They're 76, right?
Well, it's Heinz 57, but I thought maybe they're like
76 is the gas station. Okay.
57 was their 57th variety of sauce, but that's been around forever, so they got to have more varieties now. So I thought maybe they're doing the same thing, but no. This is a apparently 78 brand, Chicago, Illinois. They make this ketchup in Poland, and so I don't know if you can find it uh, in Las Vegas, but this is like the tastiest ketchup I've ever had. And I don't think I got the spicy stuff, but I'm gonna try the regular stuff next time, and we'll see if it's just as tasty. But like I'm out there like I don't use a lot of ketchup, but I really do on like French fries and like maybe one or two other things. If I ever use any other kind of ketchup in my house, it'll be too soon. So there's my advertisement this week about bringing up my fry game.
Wow. Okay.
Congrats.
I have found said product on a website called Amazon.com.
Ooh, there it is. Yeah, there.
Yeah, it's $10 a bottle on there.
Oh, okay. It's $3 a bottle on the shelf.
Okay. Well, if I see it, I will pick it up based on your recommendation.
Take a peek. I was just eating some onion rings earlier, and I utilized it, and I was like, I'm really still kind of chuffed from my purchase. Like, it's just about as good as it gets in the cam zone. So, just so I let you know. And then, like, you were like saving for the cast, but then I wanted to, but then we had that long conversation. So I just wanted to sneak it in there really quick.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Talk about board games.
All right. So 78 ketchup. That's the game that we're gonna make, right? We've settled. It's clearly the best thing.
Ketchup Island. All right. So we're gonna try to narrow down today what games we want to see, like possibly getting made. So there's a lot of ways we could do this. But I think we can each probably at this point like nominate, some of the games we want to see on there, on the table for like possibly getting made. And so should we just go through every game we've made and then just be like, yeah, let's put it on the table, or like, no, let's not put it on the table, and then come back around?
Sure, let's do that.
Okay. Should we start from the beginning?
Yeah, let's go all the way back from the beginning. Let's see if I can...
I have it up right here.
Cool. I'm going to try and put it up on the screen.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Somehow my video got cut off, but that's fine. You don't have to see me.
Okay. How about this, Chris? How about we go through and just say, like, the game, and then if one of us thinks it should be on the table, it's on the table. Then we go back around, and then it's like defense zone, and you have a chance to, like... If only one of us want it on the table, we have a chance to defend our position. And for round 2, then we have to both decide to keep it on the table. And then the final round is when we make the final cuts.
I like it.
Okay.
So, I'm going to start in the top left corner, weighing at probably way too heavy to ship and way too impossible for us to actually mold. Rocky Road Tabletop Mini Golf. This was from our episode 0. This was like a modular build-your-own dexterity game course, and I love the idea of it, but I don't think so. It was kind of a fun pitch off the cuff.
Off the I think it's off the table.
Okay, so mark it in red. Say that is a no-go. Cam.
Fire Hose Fairies was the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So a game where you're bringing a little like gremlin, goblin, halfling dude. Maybe there's asymmetrical factions. You have gremlins, goblins, halflings, and hobbits. And they all have a fire hose and a net, and you're running through a forest, winding your fire hose, trying to spray each other with your fire hose, but catch fairies with your net. And I thought of this concept in real time, which was fun. And I think that this could honestly be a super cool little game, but I think we have way better stuff that we've thought of since then. And for that reason, I don't think I want to put Fire Hose Fairies on the table.
I'm really debating on this one because I haven't played Wildlands, but I heard a review of it. I was listening to the excellent Hooked on Geek podcast last night. I was doing dishes, and they've been on accidental hiatus for about 6 months, since the world exploded thing. And
Sure.
so I was listening to them, and they were talking about the Wildlands game. It had a cool hand management system. And I thought, this is so cool with the idea of like laying tiles behind you to represent the fire hose. You could have like an interesting card play system. Like, there's a part of me that's jazzed about it, but I agree that I think there's more. I think there's better games that we've come up with since then. So,
Yeah. Okay, so off the table.
off the table, but
You know what? Here's the thing, Chris. If we make a bunch of board games, we can always revisit Firehose Fairies.
it's
We can
true.
always revisit Rocky Road. If we have to become prolific game designers, God forbid, like we'll have to start digging into like other ideas we had.
I came
You know,
across Cam. I kid you not. I came across an old notebook, my older notebook of game ideas, and there was something on there that I did not remember writing. It was a cooperative pizza making game where you rolled dice for ingredients and you put them into different groups, and there was like good dice and bad dice, and you had to like split them up for your team. And so I literally wrote this. That's what this thing is right down here at the bottom. It says dice split, you choose.
ooh,
And I was like, okay, that's it. I got to make that game at some point.
dice split, you choose.
Yeah,
That's great.
it's so terribly great. So okay,
I mean, it really is because like cutting like you do the same thing with cards. Doing the thing with dice could be like fun and frantic and gut wrenching.
exactly. All right.
Yeah.
So our joke pitches that we came up with literally on the spot that first episode, Rocky Road and Firehose Fairies are not getting made. Moving into
Off the table.
off the table for now. For now,
Yeah.
I should clarify.
They're off the CNC Board Game Factory Series 1 table,
Yes.
I think.
All right, going into episode 1 proper, Fruit Smoothie was my pitch. That was the card game where you have 5 different types of fruits. You deal everyone a hand. They play a card face down onto a fruit. If it's of a matching type, it'll increase the value of that fruit at the end of the game. If you put it onto a non-matching type, it'll decrease the value of that fruit at the end of the game. And once everyone feels like they played sufficient cards, their hand of fruit cards, you multiply the number of fruit cards of a type you're holding in your hand times whatever the end value of it ends up being. So that was a small little card game, kind of like a blind bidding almost thing. I think that this one has potential. We played a little demo of it once, and it's not great, but I think it is like it's in a good direction.
Yeah. And like it's a thing that could be great. I don't see this being the thing that we like make our main focus, but I could see it being a backup focus. So I think we should put this one on the table right now. So we'll get a game up on the table, third time's a charm, and come back to chatting about that in the second round of cuts.
All right, there you go. So I put it in green. You and I both agreed on it. Cam, talk to us about your exploration game of like looking for treasures and stuff.
So yeah, this is a game where you spread out like this pretty big map, and you have a little adventure, and you're trying to go through this map and like deduce where different treasures are, and different actions you take will give you like information about the location of treasures, some of which you need multiple pieces of information to get. I think this game could be like so cool, but I also think it would be a ton of work, and if we didn't get it exactly right, it would be like just really not fun and way too long, and also it would require a ton of components. So for that reason, I'm saying like this is something that like I would make if I had 8 hours a day working or more to just think about making a board game. And also the backing of a decent publisher or like the buzz of a kickstarting, darling. But as a first outing, I my thoughts are absolutely not.
I agree that it's ambitious and not just ambitious in the sense of like, ooh, ambitious, we should try it, but like I don't think this should be our first attempt in earnest.
Our first game should be like between a 2 and a 3.5 on the weight category, and I don't think this game could be good well, no, about 3.5. I don't think this game could be like. I don't see this game not coming in a huge box, not costing a lot, and not requiring like somebody to have read a 20-page rule book.
Yeah.
That or it would have a companion app that would like guide the game, and at that point, like a companion app as your first game seems daunting.
When you're not already a computer programmer.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Which neither of us are. So, all right. So that one is off the table once again for now.
Yeah.
Next episode, I talked about an old idea that I had out of that same notebook with this dice split you choose catastrophe pun. But I had this idea of a cooperative fighting game where every player's character is controlled by a different system of action, like a completely different asymmetric system. So
Sure.
one player has a personal Mancala board that they're dropping gems into, and that's their wizard ability. Another person has like a somewhat Zolkin type worker placement board, and they're like a mech, so you have to program in actions and let them charge up over time. Another person has like cards that they put together and they create little combos, and so it was definitely an unfinished idea, even because I don't even know what like a fourth fighting faction would be, but it has promise of being like a cool fighting cooperative game. So I mean, maybe akin
Yeah.
to like a something like a Gloomhaven, I guess. If that game is popular.
Uh, my vote would be not right now on
Yeah,
this one. I really think it's a beautiful idea, and I think it's again, you're buying something that would either have a legacy or campaign aspect to it if you wanted to make it as compelling as I think you want to make it.
yeah.
And I don't think that a legacy or a campaign is viable for a first game. I don't know. And if we were going to do something like that, I think I like your other campaign idea better.
Hmm.
I don't know if I like it better. In fact, I think I'd rather play this game than the other one you came out like was your idea.
Hmm.
But I think the other one would be easier to do.
I think in terms of marketability and stuff as well, you talked about that as a deciding factor, and I think trying to make a game so asymmetric is like a fun design challenge, but less
Mhm.
fun of a learning challenge. Uh,
Right.
and so therefore, I think that if somebody happens to have a little bit of name recognition behind them and say, "Hey, do you want to learn my game that's actually for different games?" You know, like I think that's part of the reason why Root has outperformed Vast the Crystal Caverns, because Vast was Leader Games' first foray into it, and people are like,
Right.
this is such a cool idea, but it only got them so far. But Root is like a hugely successful game.
Yeah, that's true. Root also like most of the factions kind of play on the same machine, but with different parts. And like Vast is like really really different. But
And this, yeah, my asymmetric fighting game is more different. You know what I mean? One person's playing Mancala, another person's doing worker placement. Like, so
right.
very different, but I think the cooperative nature of it helps, but I don't think it's quite on the table yet. So I marked it red, and let's go on to your next one.
Yeah, so an idea for a game about like colonizing you know a new like continent or island or whatever that I think is a really neat like if somebody told me this game was being made, I would be really jazzed for it. But the idea of making it seems kind of daunting. So a game where you have like little worker placements at your like home where everybody's like royalty and they're trying to like curry the favor of like, you know, King Ferdinand or whoever sending them all out to do this. And like preparing boats to sail and like bringing like colonists and supplies and like doing little intrigue actions and then like having a time where like in the game like the game would have like many rounds and like really big rounds because then you'd have a part of the round where your boats are moving towards the island and then on the island you have like landing on the island, colonizing, building, trading. Um, I think it's the kind of thing where like if you stripped down all of those ideas, you could make a really tight game that does that. If you wanted to do something huge with it, it'd be like a 3 hour game. If you wanted to do something minor with it, um, I think that could be done. Uh, but I gotta say, this game isn't in my top 10 ideas we've had. Um, and like, I would love to come back to this idea because I think it's really cool to have like a worker placement, then like a efficiency like movement and planning, and then like a like kind of an area control and 4x sort of thing, all within the same game.
Mm.
But
And the worker placement is the first phase, which kind of drives the next two
yeah,
phases, so to speak.
yeah. I really like it. I like this idea. I think it's more doable than other previous ones we mentioned. But I still just don't think that this one gets my nod for even going into the next round.
Mm. See, and I'm of two minds about it because I think that it is an intriguing puzzle. I'm gonna mark this one in yellow, and so that we
Okay,
can kind of
we're gonna put it on the table for round two, is what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. It's gonna go into the next round. We'll go through them again and see.
Yeah,
But I mean, a green means both of us agreed. Like, yeah, probably has a better chance of moving forward.
yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, so now we're coming on to um, bake, bake,
I think it's pronounced Bak Il.
bak,
Yeah.
bak.
So the 100-day party. This is my idea of a kind of like a Ticket to Ride type like style of game where you draw cards. Like on your turn, you draw a card or you play a set of cards essentially, and it is a multi-use card game based around the Korean traditional 100-day party, and so you draw cards, and their function is either you can play them as a certain number of baekseolgi, which is like the traditional rice cake. You're trying to race to get 100 rice cakes eaten in the span of a party, right? Which is a tradition of good luck and of health and longevity for a 100-day old baby. And then you can also collect other things. So you can play cards as like different types of foods and stuff to represent like adding to the party, and you earn different types of victory points depending if you play a card as the rice cake side of it or as like the food side of it. And then you can also they can represent different colors of string. So every single card is a different color, red or blue or white or black. And so then if you have a hand of like 4 black, instead of playing them for the different abilities, you can play them as a single set as a 4-length string representing also longevity for the party. And so it's a multi-use card game, but it's very simple, very approachable, and there's a shared objective of trying to reach 100 rice cakes within the span of the game. And so I actually made a little demo of this, and it's okay. It's fun-ish. And so my thought was, if you don't hit the 100 rice cakes, like that's kind of a taboo. That's not great.
Mm-hmm.
And so whoever contributed the fewest rice cakes, because they're the least sexy gameplay card, whoever contributed the fewest loses out points, right? Like starting from the bottom up. But if you hit that 100, that's kind of the end game trigger. And whoever contributed the most gets victory points, and majority going down. So it creates that compulsion to want to play kind of a crappier card instead of being like, I'm playing down more fruit to get fruit set collection bonus and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
that's that small but simple card game, multi-use cards.
I like this idea. I think that it's unique, and I think it's easy, and I think that like quick card games never go out of style.
Mm-hmm.
I want to put it on the table.
Cool. I want to put it on the table too. It's one that I've thought about over the last few weeks, and like I said, I made this like functional demo of it, and I know that it needs refinement, but I looked at it and I said, I think there's something fun there.
Yeah. Okay. So like a Galactic Council game was the next idea. That's basically it has all the aspects of a 4X space opera game, but everything is kind of distilled to like its smallest core, except for like the negotiation and politics portion of the game is made extremely robust, to the point where you have asymmetrical factions, but each of those factions also has different leaders, and everybody has like objectives they're trying to pass through, which may or may not work together with other players' objectives. Um, I love it. I don't even need to say any more about it. I think this is a fantastic idea. I think you could put it in a box the same size as like an Alia big box series game or smaller. I think that the rules could be extremely light and all of the information that's complex could be right there in front of you. I think that it would be super fun to tool around with different factions. And I think it'd be the kind of game that would be like, Rob's favorite. What's that? What's the game we just did an episode on as Board Toys? Cosmic Encounter.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That group. I think it gets the Twilight Imperium group. I think it gets the King's Dilemma group. I think it gets the Secret Hitler group, and bring it all together in something that would be heavier than Secret Hitler, be interesting like Cosmic Encounter, and be much lighter than TI4, but still have stuff for everybody who likes all of those things. Diplomacy too has a huge fan base,
Mm-hmm.
and I think people don't really care as much about like the fighting I mean, they do, but like it's the secret dealing and the. I think this would be a great social game, but that would also hit like the world building nerds.
The slightly more strategy part of it as well.
Yeah. This is a strategy game with like, I think, ideally a really good political system. So it is probably, it's for sure in my top 10 favorite pitches, and I think this is one that could be like an absolutely knockout smash, or one that could be so boring. So I'm really excited to work on it. But I think that it would be, I mean, any game here's the thing about board games. If you don't make them awesome, they're not fun to play and that nobody ever plays them.
Right.
So, because there's a lot of board games out there, but I want to put this one on the table. I don't know how you feel about it.
I'm going to be honest, Cam. So here's the things about it. It is less of a genre that I'm familiar with and that I love, and I totally want to make it.
Ooh, that's a Simon Cowell thing right there.
Oh no, I heard it. Oh, I feel a little icky. But
it's like, let me just tell you then. I can't do his voice. Normally, when I'm on this show, I don't really care for the gymnastics groups. But you guys were brilliant. I absolutely love it. Best, like you know what I'm saying.
And that's the thing is, I love it because of just how, I don't mean this in a bad way, but like absurd it is. Like, you can have the 4X, you have the expand, exploit, explode if you wanted to, and it could be like super quick and easy, and just like boom, 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 boom. I got some more resources. You took a trade action. You conquered a new planet, and that takes like 10 seconds. And then now with the new board state, now we go into this like governmental council phase where like, I'm going to try and enact a policy that's going to hurt you, and I need these two people to be on my side to agree with that policy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that sounds good. So
yeah, and then like you get points for like what passes through and yada yada. Yes, and so are we in agreement? This is on the table.
It's green, baby. It's green.
Okay, it's green. Okay, so let's move on to the viticulture roll and write. So, Chris, go ahead.
So viticulture roll and write. One of the things I've been doing is almost a design exercise, is taking a full-size game and distilling it down. You don't distill wine. You ferment. I've been fermenting them down.
Fermenting them down.
And so I had this idea with viticulture was kind of turn it into like a little dice drafting game where you roll and write and stuff. And a few weeks after we did this episode, I had a few breakthroughs on it, and then I kind of mostly designed it. So it's in a shape. I actually put this up on the Stonemeyer Games Facebook page, the Viticulture in Tuscany Facebook page, with Jamie's blessing. He said, hey, go ahead and put it up there. and I've had people try it, and people actually like it. So, which unfortunately means that I went through and I just had a bunch of time one weekend, and I was like, let's just, oh, here's this idea, let me, make it through. So, I mean, a little roll and write version of a bigger game is really fun in my mind. So, unfortunately, I kind of hogged it and worked on it a lot. So, I mean, if you want to work on it together, I have absolutely no problem with it because it still needs refinement. It still needs to be fine tuned and stuff. But I think that like our energy could be spent elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree. And here's my thoughts too: is the concept is based on a known game. Roll and rights are like kind of a dime a dozen right now. Not that this game is a dime a dozen. Um, I don't think that our best foot forward with our first game is highly based on another game and also a roll and write.
Right. I love roll and rights, and I've made a few, and I actually
Oh,
submitted
I
one
really,
this week. I submitted one to a publisher this week.
oh,
So
did you? Really?
I did. Yeah, I had some 4:30 in the morning, Tuesday night courage. And I was like, I've been
Yeah,
working on this, refining the rule book for weeks, been playing this with lots of people, so I submitted it. And I still haven't heard back, but
there. That's awesome.
yeah. So,
So you could be a published designer by the time we design a game together. So
hey, maybe I'll
hmm
have some clout behind me.
yeah, quote.
All right, man,
All
let's
right,
hear your next one.
all right. So we got the Colored Cube Factory.
Done, I'm sold. I want
Yeah, same. Do we need to talk about it?
it. I mean, it's literally a factory game about colored cubes, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically, you're taking colored cubes, running them through like conveyor belts, smashing them together to make themed or unthemed new colored cubes. And the colored cubes that you create will be used to get you better ways to smash colored cubes together, will be used to get you points, and will be used to get you more colored cubes and money also. And that's the basic idea. Uh, I think it speaks for itself. We all love colored cubes. We love factories. Um, Colored Cube Factory. I say yeah, put it on the table.
It's on the table, man. I
Yeah.
love the idea of. I mean, it is literally an engine building game. You know what I mean? It's a development game. It's a factory. You literally need to make it better over time. And I think it's going to be such a fun puzzle and such a great like it'll be super fun to design the action driving part of it, like the worker placement
Right.
or whatever drives it. And it'll be so fun to design then the factory part of it and the cube economy and stuff. And I've had lots of ideas about it over the last few weeks since you
And there's
pitched it.
a lot of different colors of colored cubes that you could use because there's each of the major colors, and then there's clearly delineated other shades. So you can have red, yellow, blue, green, orange, purple, black, white, clear, light blue, gray,
Pink.
pink. There's just 12 right there.
Yeah.
If and then you could do like brown. And so I don't know if you need more than 13 colors, but easily done. And
Clear
if
is
they're wood cubes,
great.
if they're wood cubes, you have to take off clear. But if they're plastic cubes, then you can use clear.
Anything's on the table at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I like Colored Cube Factory, and you could even have like master cubes, like bigger cubes that are like swirled and stuff, and but
Ooh.
that'd get expensive. So we're not trying to break the bank with game.
But
I,
I
I
love
don't
it.
I don't need my first game to be made by what's that dice company, ChessX.
Yeah. It's just like, can we borrow like 17 of your injection molds, please?
Yeah. Oh, you guys need a sparkly cube? Okay. You do need a sparkly cube.
Oh, you need a
Um,
you need a clear cube with a miniature rubber duck on the inside.
all right. So the seaweed game.
So the seaweed industry is a game that I'll be honest. I think looking back on it, I was still hyped about Colored Cube Factory because I wanted this idea of a worker placement game where you put out workers. You're trying to grow seaweed. It's I think a
Mhm.
thematically very intriguing industry,
Oh,
and it's an incredibly healthy food. It's really healthy to grow. It does. You don't have to water it. It grows literally in salt water. Like there's so many cool things about it, and you could like, the end game of it could be trying to make like those little packs of nori snacks and
Right.
or like sheets of seaweed, of like sushi seaweed, and I think that there's that fun potential. And my idea for it, the hook of it, basically was at the start of the game, you're going to put workers into different spots like farming and refining and stuff, but you also have to put workers out into like the more central area where you're like trying to buy machinery and buy more resources, stuff like that. And my hope would be that eventually you would automate different parts of it. You would automate your farming process to kind of represent going from like going out in a boat and like grabbing the seaweed out of the ocean to like having these really intricate like string machines, just strings of seaweed that are growing out there that get hauled in and harvested like more automatically and stuff. So worker placement with automation, and I like it, but I also look at the idea of this and Colored Cube Factory, and I think that for me, Colored Cube Factory would do a lot of these same ideas of automation and stuff, but a little bit smoother and a little bit better. So that's kind of my thought on it. Is I'm not sure this is one to bring to the table.
That's my thought too, and and it's actually perfect that we're saying that, because my next idea was the polyomino laying game where you're running a farm, and I think that we have another polyomino game we're about to talk about that's much more compelling also. So I think we can put that in the same boat and just take kind of both of these ones off the table, because I think we have ideas that are more concrete for a polyomino game and an automation game or an engine building game. As much as I like both of the things we talked about, maybe you feel differently about that farm one, but that's kind of like those are my thoughts for actually literally my thoughts for Seaweed Island and Farm Island.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, a similar type of a thought where I like the idea of your Tetris farm thing, putting out stuff that polyominoes, Tetris things are very in vogue.
Mm-hmm.
But
here's the thing: if we're Uwe Rosenberg, and we have an idea for another game using a similar thing, well, that's great. Let's put out the one and then do the other.
Yeah. But if our names are not Uwe Rosenberg, let's try and put our best foot forward with them.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Okay,
all right.
So we're moving on to Jordan Hopper's Dino Bones archaeology game. I want to say we're going to have to make CNC and J Board Game Factory if we're going to make this game. So for now, it's off the table.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it was fun having him on to hear like other thoughts that people have when they are like, hey, here's this game that I've had in my mind for a while. I don't know how to make it work, but like here's like the baby steps of an idea. And I like it. It's one of those things where I struggle because deduction is not one of my strong suits. And so I don't know how to invent a good deductive system. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Yeah, and I want to be able to because I like deduction games, but I'm kind of in the same boat. I played Loot of Lima the other day, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
That game is really cool for deduction. Also, I played the new Hotness Pendulum last night.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Have you played it?
We've played Pendulum like 5 times now because I want to play it a ton to give it a genuine, earnest review. And there's so much that is potentially great about it, but then its total package is not as strong as I think it would need to be to merit.
Okay, so here's what's up. If the board, the worker placement board, was interchangeable with like new types of places you could go to and new like loops and stuff, great. I just don't see how that game doesn't become doing the exact same loop every single time.
The difference is to take a step aside for a second, right? Talk about Pendulum. The thing is with Pendulum, it's the player powers that matter, and the A sides, the front sides of the player boards are way too similar to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So like the victory point trackers, you have the 3 different colors that you need to get. They're all like different lengths depending on your characters. But your ability cards that you play, stratagem cards, they're almost identical with some small variations. Once you flip those boards to the B side, playing a character is very different.
Oh, that's good.
But the loop is still the same. And so
And that was what I thought could get old.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you will approach the loop a little bit differently based on what your characters are, and then the way that you play those stratagem cards is going to hugely change the way
Right.
that you play. But it's still just not enough for me.
Yeah. Well, and if you're from, sorry, it's not I'm from the loop. I'm from the Lou, and I'm proud.
All right.
Down, baby. Okay. What do we got? Impresario, the Opera House, 2113. I'm just gonna say right now, I like it. I want it on there, but why don't you tell everybody about it?
It's I'm going to tell everyone that it's on the table. So this is the idea of a dice drafting game where there's different colors of dice and obviously they roll different numbers. And the thing is that when you draft a die of a certain color, it represents your mastery over a language of opera. There's three famously classical languages of opera, so to speak: French, Italian, and German. Of course, Russian and English also existed and everything, but classical opera, that tends to be like the three, right? And so you have to move up the tracks of these different languages to be able to perform different operas. You have to move up other tracks depending on the dice that you draft and the actions you take with them to increase your ticket sales, which is money, to increase your patronage, and patronage tokens are like, like change dice colors, change dice numbers, like that type of stuff. It's just tracks on tracks, and you're trying to move up them and master them all, and the
Stacks of tracks on tracks.
stacks of tracks on tracks. Yeah, the only thing that the game misses is maps on maps.
Yeah.
But there's also your action driver is you have a grid of 4x2 cards. So when you draft a die, you activate between two cards, between two spaces. So like a black 4, you might activate your conductor, who increases one track, and your prima, your main female performer, based on number and color adjacency and that type of stuff. So I love this idea.
Yeah, same. We're gonna put it on the table. Green.
All right.
Okay. We're getting like really close to an hour right now, so I want to put two of my ideas together, and here's why. We got a food truck game and we got a dungeon crawl game. Both of them are kind of push your luck deck builders. The dungeon one for me is more complicated than it needs to be at this time. The food truck one is pretty compelling and light. Basically, you're getting a deck with customers and ingredients, and you're setting up your food truck, and you're going to try to make enough food for the people in your line to score points. You lose points if you don't feed everybody, but the more people you feed, the more points you get. And I want to put that on the table. I do not want to put the dungeon crawl on the table.
Interesting. Okay. I would agree with Food Truck Island. I think that one's really compelling. The dungeon crawl one, it's so tough because I like it.
I like it. I like all these. I like all of these games.
Yeah. I like it. I'm putting it in yellow. We'll review it along with the rest, right? So really quick, my idea of killing Hitler would be kind of a campaign game wherein players are trying to for the first several missions, they're not trying to actually kill Hitler. You're trying to just glean information. You're trying to get inside information from different people within the Wehrmacht and the German military and information departments. And you're trying to recruit people to your cause, and depending on whether you succeed or not, the story can branch into different directions. And I love the idea, but I think it's a little ambitious. Kind of like you said, like, just in general, a campaign for our first go together might be a little bit hard.
I think so too, and I'd put it in yellow or off the table, if anything, based on that, not based on the idea, which I think is great.
Okay.
So, do you want to put that yellow, or do you want to take it off the table?
I think for my vote, it's going to take it off the table for now,
Okay.
because we have so many other good ones.
Okay. I want to talk about one of my two, I think, favorite ideas from the entire podcast right now.
Okay.
And this is an alchemy idea game that I came up with, where it's a worker placement game, but there's a bunch of different modules, and all of the worker stuff you do leads towards, trying to get done what you have to do, but you have to complete little puzzles on each worker placement board in order to satisfy the way it works. And certain things don't activate until they're set up just right. Certain things activate right away, but you have to place in a certain way. Certain things change the state of the game. And where we left it last time is we may even have like randomly assigned puzzles that will overlay, but do like you'll have like the same core results from those actions. And I think there's a lot that we could do with that game. So I want to put it on the table, but if you don't, that's just fine.
For me, I'm putting it on the table.
Okay.
The idea, we just talked about how Pendulum, unfortunately, the loop feels too samey from game to game.
Right.
This one, I think, would avoid that really well and do something new and clever with worker placement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the core goal would be to have enough puzzles where like you don't play with all of them every time.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. We don't have to have like twice the puzzles for the amount of spaces, but I think we should have several more than the amount of spaces, so that it's kind of exciting each time because you have like an entirely different setup, but what you're doing remains the same.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep, the actions are the same, but the way to drive those actions changes.
Yeah. Yep. Very cool. And then there would be like I think probably like Teotihuacan, where you have like the base board is like the beginner setup,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll deal out the different ones like as overlays. Yeah.
Teotihuacan's such a good. All right, yeah.
Yep. Oh man, have you played Tekkenu yet?
I have not. No.
Ooh man, Tekkenu is fun. I don't know. I think a couple of people I've played with have not obviously liked it as much as they like Teotihuacan, but those people are party poopers. Tekkenu is very different though. I don't think that like Teotihuacan, I would say your scores like go like this as you play it, and you find more and more ways to do stuff. Tekkenu is like you're roped into like 16 actions. And there are ways to get like an additional action a couple times from like action cards and stuff you'll play. But unless you like really, really went down the road of I'm going to get as many extra actions as possible, I still think you're maxing out at like 18 or 19.
Okay.
And yeah, it's tight. It's wobbly, but it's not wombo-y. Anyway, this isn't our Tekkenu podcast, so Chris, do you want to talk about what I think is the bombest game?
That means a lot, Cam. So Grocery Run was my idea for a mid-weight game, but it has some fair complexity to it. And this is what you were alluding to earlier with the polyomino game that you think is a better suggestion. So you're trying to do your grocery store run as quick as possible. You have to go up an aisle and over and down an aisle and stuff. It's a very simple movement, but as you move up or down an aisle, you can pick up the groceries on the different sides of it in order and stack them into your cart. They are the polyomino pieces. Your grocery cart is fairly small size, so you're trying to puzzle stuff onto there. But the other thought was that certain grocery items are more fragile, certain of them are normal, and certain of them are heavy. So you cannot stack heavy stuff on top of other things. You cannot stack anything on top of fragile groceries. And there's a little bit of a card draft before each round where you can try and get coupons, for bonus victory points if you buy stuff. You can try and get extra contracts. But if you have unfulfilled contracts, if you have extra food left over at the end of the game, all of that stuff will kind of work against you. So you're trying to balance how quick you're going to go through the grocery store, because the first people to finish each round will get bonus points. And like, if you finish first, you may be first for next round or something like that. But also, fulfilling those contracts or recipes is the main point driver of the game.
Yeah. I didn't tell you that we were going to do this thing, but since you did the Simon Cowell thing earlier, I'm going to do a Simon Cowell thing. I'm just going to give this one the golden buzzer. This one's going to the finals. I don't care what you say. I love this idea. I think that we already have like a clear concept. I think that we could spend all of our time just designing this game because like the rules are basically already there. And I think that like the draft, then the run, then the cook is like a super easy gameplay loop. I don't think there's a better, more cohesive idea that both you and I could put more, better work into than this one. This gets my vote already. And maybe, I mean, it doesn't have to be the one we work on. Like, that's what I'm saying. But we can't not put this one on the table.
All right, man. That means a lot to me. So yeah, golden buzzer it in. Thank you.
Yeah.
I assume that's a good thing that Simon does, right?
Well, yeah. So it's America's Got Talent. Like, each of the judges gets to, like, you know how they have like their. I mean, it's a very reality show thing because
Mm-hmm.
like they have their auditions, and then like if three of them say yes to the audition, they go on to like the cuts round where they perform again, and then they'll cut like down to like just a small amount of people. When they give the golden buzzer, they say like, "Hey, you get to go to the shows where like it's people who have already been through the cuts, so you get to skip one whole round
Oh wow.
of."
Okay.
And then they have like two or three more sets of cuts after they make it. They're like people they give that thing to can like go out like before even the semifinals or whatever. But what they're saying is like we just think you're at a level that like we don't need to see you again to see whether or not you belong at like the live shows that we do. So
Okay.
where like people like send in votes to like help pad stuff and
Okay. So
yeah,
so this
I
one's
think
making it to the live shows.
I think the live shows are 100% like the top five or so are like sent in by popular vote, and then like the judges get to like send like three of the people who are like in the next five spots or something like that.
Okay. I clearly.
It's I've watched some episodes of this show, but I'm not like a fanatic. That's I just know a couple things about it is what I'm saying.
Hey, that's fine.
So
All right.
um
Going through
uh
this, looking at this list again, really quick, Cam.
yeah.
I'm thinking about it. I'm looking at fruit smoothie, and I'm comparing it to the 100 Day Party. And I think in terms of small, easy card games, I think that the 100 Day Party is more compelling.
Same. I think that too. So let's just put that one into the finals. Okay.
Okay.
So let's cross out food. Okay. So let's go to what else is close together. What else do we have that's on the board right now on the table?
Okay. So we have. We have your colony worker placement game. I put that one as a yellow, and I think that after going through everything else, I'm going to knock that one off to red.
I agree. I agree with your thoughts there.
Okay, so
Uh,
the dungeon crawl memory game, I'm going to do the same thing. I
I,
love.
I I agree with that. If okay, so okay, let's just say let's each talk about our four favorite ideas on here. Like what? Because I think if I was going to send four to the final, like the final round of like what are we trying to make, I would send your grocery run idea.
Okay.
I would send your 100 days party idea. I would send Colored Cube Factory, and I would send the Alchemy game. And those would be my four picks.
It's so hard, man. I really love the idea of that Galactic Council 4X spacey thing.
Oh, there's that one too.
Because
Maybe those are my four picks.
the other two
Uh,
we have highlighted. So for me, it's the Impresario, the opera game, and then for
oh,
you,
yeah,
it's the
that one
food
too.
truck game.
Jeez.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have six that we've kind of narrowed it down to.
Yeah. Okay. So it's hard. It's hard to make four picks from those six. You're right. Um. Okay. Hang on. Let me really reevaluate. Okay. I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna chew on this for 60 seconds, and I'm gonna give you my four gut feelings, and I encourage you to do the same. And
All
we'll see
right.
how close. I'm ready. I have my four gut feelings.
Oh, I have three of them.
Oh, I don't know why, but my cat Megatron loves showing up right at the end of this podcast. He's a camera hog. That's what it is. Oh, he's a fat dude. You are so fat. He's turning 13 in about a month. You know, I have a teenager in the house.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You go. All right. Do you want to hear my four?
One second. I need just a second to refine my thoughts. Uh, oh no, man. This is agonizing.
for you maybe I just sucked it up. But here's the thing: you know that one of the things I love in games is to make a hard choice because you can't have everything. It's one of the things I like the most, and go with where you think the points are. And I think I know where the points are.
All right, man. Let's hear your four.
Okay, my four. Clearly, the grocery game is in there. Okay.
Okay.
Here's my number three, and I think you're going to be surprised with what I came up with. Colored Cube Factory, Impresario, what was my last? Oh, Galactic Council. That's what I got.
Okay.
So I'm saying in my four, I'm saying goodbye to 100 Day Party, and I'm saying goodbye to Alchemy Worker Placement.
Fascinating. Because, so mine are 100 Day Party, Impresario, Colored Cube Factory, and Alchemy Worker Placement. So we have
Okay,
effectively.
So I think what we can do here then, Chris. I really think we can just probably do this. Is we can say that the games we're going to work on are the Colored Cube Factory and Impresario the Opera House.
Okay.
Because those were both in our top four. And
Yeah.
we the other way on the other two. And what I think we should do is we should put those other four games in the category of like, if we have some cool ideas for these, let's talk about that.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, that I realized there were 7 we were picking from because Food Truck Island was still on there, but I think that these other 6 are just top tier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So to recap, we are going to be working on for this podcast. Our main 2 focuses are going to be Impresario and Colored Cube Factory, and then our backup thoughts are going to be Alchemy, Galactic Council, 100 Day Party, Grocery Run.
Okay. All right, man. I feel good about those 2. I really like those 2 as kind of like our main focus. Let's put our notes.
I think they're broad reaching. I think thematically and like what we both really like in board games is super present in your Impresario game. And I think that you and I both also like I think adding that kind of theme to like a track thing is going to be really good on like the thematic rules that we find enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that and like the track running that we love to do in board games. I think that this Colored Cube thing will also feed our desire to like really do efficient things and combo wombo stuff. So we have our wobble on one side, we have our wombo on the other side, and I think we've made good choices, and I think we did it in an appropriate amount of time for the podcast today.
I think so. I think that we were debating how we were going to try and take this list of a lot of good ideas and whittle them down. And we talked about like, should we do a bracket? But if you have like an unfortunate pairing, like out the gate randomly, Colored Cube Factory and Impresario were against each other. Like, so I'm glad that we did it this way. We knocked some off, and I like that we've come up with the 2 that we want to focus on, and then these other ones. There's no reason to cut more. If we come up with good ideas on them, we'll talk about them in the future as well.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like, if we can make board games together, we're in our 30s, dude. We got all the time in the world to make 6 board games.
Yeah.
So,
if we were Reiner Knizia, we'd have this knocked out by next week.
Yeah, well, Reiner Knizia gets paid to make board games, right?
I don't even know what he does. Yeah, I mean, he was a mathematics PhD at one point, so maybe he's a professor.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get the idea that like these guys who make board games make their like the big designers make their first few games while they're doing what they do, and then after that they get to make board games for a living.
Maybe.
I don't think you get especially rich off of it, but I do think I think once you've put enough out, you can do it. But that'll be we can call up Stefan Feld and see if he does anything other than make board games.
Isn't he like a principal, like a school principal or teacher or something like that?
Stefan Feld is a principal of a school.
I thought so. I'll have to look that up. I don't want to make wild accusations about anyone, but like Matt Leacock, before he got Boogu famous, he was like a software user interface engineer or something like that. who else am I? Klaus Teuber, Mr. Catan himself, is a dentist. I don't think he
Yeah.
ever went full time. He's not the most prolific designer either. He's made plenty of games in his career, but he doesn't pound out like 3 a
Here's
year.
the thing, like these German guys, though. Okay, so here's the difference between the German guys and the American guys, right?
Uh huh.
Because Matt Leacock is making games full time now, right?
I believe so. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, and Jamie Stegmaier is running his game company and making games full time, right?
I mean, he's running his company full time, and he gets to
But
make
once
games.
like, he works in the board game industry, he doesn't have like that's not his side gig, right?
Yeah.
I think these German guys are just so German, where they're like, well, if I'm only making diversions for the world to play, then I'm not really being efficient with the time that I've been given on this earth. So it's important that I also work in the Hansa and. You know what I'm saying?
Andreas Seyfarth was actually part of the German postal system. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's funny. All right, man. I'm very happy with the games that we've narrowed down. So
Yeah, same.
let's put our nose to the grindstone and like come up with some close to tangibles for this by the next time we record, and we'll go over ideas together. And I'm excited about this. So,
Sounds great to me.
So welcome now officially to phase 2 of the CNC Board Game Factory.
Yeah, we did it. And nobody died. Don't people die in those movies to make people feel like they need to watch the next one?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, nobody. Well, I mean, Fruit Smoothie that we've talked about very highly since the beginning. That one kind of died. That gave us something to avenge, you know.
And that's true. I mean, I think we just came up with ideas that were more open to like creation and then more compelling to work on. I don't think that Fruit Smoothie's dead. I think that it's just like everybody, like all these designers release a little kick around game every now and then.
Yeah. I think Fruit Smoothie still has something fun to it, but yeah, man, I'm way excited about this. So I think it's a good time for us to sign off. We've been recording for a little bit here, and we've made some really awesome progress. So I'm excited.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, listen, you have a good one.
Peace out. Thanks for listening.
Everybody listening.